States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Bill, don't like that. The speakers aren't on.
They're on.
No, they're not lit up.
Mike?
They came on undone over here? What's that? Oh,
Microphone.
They're not
Mic'd up.
lit up, the speakers. Maybe just ours they have.
Oh, sorry, I didn't connect these ones. Good catch.
like I really wanted on.
There we go.
You can turn mine off.
Thank you.
Okay, that being said, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I will make a motion.
Support.
Auditor, support by Reardon. Any discussion?
You want to add an item?
Yeah, excuse me, I apologize. I would like to add an item to 5.05, that's just before 1. Okay. Maxine Parkview is going to give a presentation on the SMART program. And I'd also like to make a note that on the agenda under number 5, I do believe, hang on. Number 4.9, that position, resignation is effective May 3rd, 2023, instead of May 26th.
April 26th.
Okay. Okay.
What's the, fine with the adding that on. I am anyway.
I am as well.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Recognition of visitor input. Mr. Walton has asked to speak tonight. I would ask him that he would keep it within the 3 minutes of the guidelines of policy 206.
I'm going to stay right here. Okay. There's no Mr. I don't claim any titles. Okay. Just comments.
Out of respect, Tom.
I just stopped by to say happy anniversary. May 10th, 2021, 2 years. I'm looking forward to the 3rd year. And my back hurts and I'm going to go home. Good night.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, that was the only person I had wanted to speak tonight. Number 4 is the consent agenda. Can I get,
Was there an individual that wanted to speak regarding therapy dog?
That's on the agenda.
That's,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't think they're coming. It was with Mr. Manny, and I don't think they're
Manny.
coming tonight.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted
They're
to,
going to come to maybe the next meeting. Yeah.
okay. Double checking.
all right, so then up is next is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
By Director Reardon,
Support.
or by Director Colbert-Dahl. Any discussion?
I'd like to have some information on 6, 7, and 11, please.
6. 7 and 11. Okay, that being for discussion or what are you looking for, Director Sorkin?
Just some clarification in number 8. 7, 8, and 11. Just real quick questions.
Okay, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, that's fine. So for 6, the hiring of a 1.0 high school science teacher, is that to replace a one, or is that an additional do we need?
That is replacing someone.
Somebody that's already gone or already resigned?
And it's because of shifting of duties and where we had to strand some high school teachers.
Okay, so that's not a new position. And then 7, hiring of a special ed, same question. Is that additional or a replacement?
It is a replacement, so it's not an addition.
Okay. And then a transfer of a person from an elementary or to a counselor position, is that not just managerial rights as a transfer goes? It's not a hire, it's not a letting go?
It is, but in this case, we typically bring these to the board because the board usually asks questions about why such and such happened, Director Sorkin.
Okay, you want to explain that?
Well, we want to head off the questions so that you know what's happening. This was a position that was open, caused by a retirement, and we had another counselor in the district. We posted the position, and because we posted the position, we thought we should bring it to the board. If you no longer want to see any of these, this would streamline things quite a bit. And we certainly, you don't have to approve this one, but we're bringing it to the board for your consideration so you know about it.
So if that's a transfer to a counselor position, does that leave a hole for where this person was before?
This, yes, but it's in the high school, they will be able to backfill. And she was doing in the REACH program, so it's a little bit different kind of situation, but in the high school, we'll backfill that through some other individuals.
Okay, I'm just saying each person that you replace, that means there's a position that's left open. Eventually you have the same number or you have to hire somebody down the chain.
Right. Keep in mind that because the board is going through budget cuts, we have a number of tenured teachers that we're stranding and putting in and moving around and putting in some different areas. So that's how the backfill is going to occur here.
So we're kind of leaving that open and not at this point in time.
Correct.
Okay, and 11, about Diane Hazelton resigning and a dean position, are we expecting to fill that position or not?
As of this minute, we did post for the position. As of this minute, we are expecting to fill that position because this is not one of the positions that was on the recommended list of cuts to the board that the board approved.
Okay. Okay, thanks. That's all I have. We can,
So with that, with those items 6, 7, 8, and 11 all being discussed and answered for you, will you approve the agenda? I mean,
It's, we haven't had a vote yet,
I
Bill.
mean,
Yeah.
we have motion by Director Reardon, support by Director Culver-Dahl. No other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Sorry about that, folks. Moving on to reports, 5.05, Maxine Perkiel. Gonna give us a little. Perko, excuse me, Perko, I should know that.
I even know that.
I know, Perkiel.
Right?
I know, it's been many.
Okay, I'll try to make this as brief as I can. This program, when you train for it, takes 3 days, and then I've been working with it for 10 years beyond that and 15 years before to get it to where it is today. And the reason I'm here is because in all your budget meetings and it affects us. And before, I wanted you to know really what this program is, because you're going to see interventionalists versus me, who is smart, and you probably don't even know basically what it is. And I say there are interventionalists and there are developmentalists, and this is what I am, as a developmentalist. And I want to just briefly, I gave you a packet of just basic information about the program. It is a multi-sensory program. It's based on your sensory pathways that go to the brain. And if you look at this ontogeny chart, I did not give this to you. It's very confusing. It took me a long time to understand, but basically I want you to know that the program is based on this basic development from 0 to 6. Your brain stem starts developing when you move. When a child is born, it's when you move. They start moving, they start doing, and there's all these things. It's just amazing how the brain works. But here's the key in education. If these pieces are not in place and they don't go like this, they can zigzag and they can spiral, it affects a child's learning. So when your children come to school, and when children, I should not have my back to you here, when children come to school, we assume that they're ready, and we think because they know letters and sounds, that's school readiness. This program is learning readiness. Are you developmentally ready? This is a developmental program. So when you're looking at what might happen to my position, I want you to understand what I do and why I brought all this fun stuff. And so we work on this development that's here. There's vision, auditory, tactile, which the inputs go into the brain and then you come out. The child cries when they're little because the diaper is wet. That's a sensory input. They cry, you go and change the diaper. So we are constantly stimulating our brain with inputs and outputs. And so when you look at SMART, I put that in there. I don't have time to go to everything about it, but the one I want to tell you about, because we're stimulating through frequency, intensity, duration. That's what we do. And the teachers that do know this, that's what they're doing. Your brain, in order to learn something, and I'm in that Medicare thing where they go in there and they give you 3 words and then they distract you and they want you to tell you those 3 words back after about 5 minutes. That's not the way the brain works. The brain works with inputs and frequency, intensity, duration. We have to do things frequently. Sometimes we have to write them down. Kids are the same way. They need a lot of inputs before you take an output. They need things to be bold and bright. I use streamers, and I'm going to show you a little bit about these tracks, because the cortex of the brain, when you start to get into ages 5 and 6, can do one thing. That's it. It's a unitasker. It can only do one thing. And if you remember anything about what I tell you tonight, I'm going to tell you, if these things in the brain stem from 0s to 6 are not in place, and they come from movement and stimulation that you're doing with your kids and what we're doing in school with this program, gets those things on what we call automatic pilot. If you think about when you watch your children learn how to walk, every step is a thought process and it's out there. And then pretty soon they're walking and you don't think about it. You don't think about how you're sitting in your chair right now. But a lot of the kids that we have, and they're not the kids that are going to qualify for special help. Those are the only kids that are going to get the help. This program, because we give it to all of our kids as much as we can, starting from the bottom up, we make sure that these sensory things are in place by doing all the things that I have out here. We use music. These are creep tracks. I'm going to show you a little bit about these. And I have several of them. They are information that the kids know. Can kids put their eyes from right to left? When you read, you need to be able to shift your eyes from left to right, right to left. You need to do that without even thinking about it. Some of the kids can't do that. It's really hard for them. And I see it. I go in and because I can't tell you, I wish I was younger because I have such a passion for this program. That's why I'm still here. It's just such a fabulous program. So what do? You put tracks out. And you put all kinds of different tracks. It needs to be information that kids know. So if you see here, I have words, I have colors with words, I have shapes and colors. These are all over the floor in my room. I start with simple things like animals, and we do it. And so what they do is they go down on their hands and knees, and they love this. Okay, I've got creep tracks all over the place, and they're on their hands and knees. Back to when we were a child, early development, and we go red, yellow, blue. I not only have the color, I have the words. So they're seeing that as they're doing it. And they go green, orange, blue, yellow, red, blue, all the way down the tracks. This one they do the shapes. This one we do numbers. I constantly am changing these to adapt what we are doing. Right, left, right, left, right, left. We are shifting our eyes and we are training our eyes. We also do things, I gave you a little bead on a string. You need to be able to shift your eyes without moving your head going right to left. I gave you a little bead on the string. Very simple, okay? Sensory, multi-sensory. Okay, you put it to your nose and here and you shift your eyes and you practice going left to right, another way. You need to converge. Your eyes need to converge. So you take, and there's a cute story about these. I don't know if Bill knows. He's here. I thought, I'm going to order little Pez machines because look at what happens to my eyes when I go in and out. And then you can say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, and your eyes need to do this when you're looking down at your desk, and then you have to look up at the board, looking down on the desk, up on the board. So I'm a multisensory, I'm doing development all the time. So we use balance beams. I put a thing in your packet there to show you why all these specific things are important in the development of children and why we do what we do. I don't just move kids. I don't just, pick this out of the hat. I've had tons of training. I have probably gone through the training 15 or 20 times. And every time I learned something new. And so then you put it into all kinds of things. But okay, I'm just going to show you some ways that you put learning when you have to do inputs, because like I said, it takes 10 to 14 times before the brain can remember something new. And I work with these kids and I see how hard it is for them sometimes to learn something. You've got those kids that get it. Yes, I was the kid that needed a lot of inputs. So I know exactly what those kids are talking about. So this was a neat idea to do for older kids, okay? So I worked with third grade last year. We have, there's always scheduling and things that happen. But anyway, I thought, how can we get these facts? I can put anything on here. Did you see how it's going right to left, right to left, right to left, right to left, and the answers are there? Remember these kind of cards that you had when you were going to school? You give them the answer. You're practicing the answer. We are not giving kids enough inputs before we're asking for the answer. And then the kids are in the curriculums are doing this. They're at fault too. They're expecting those kids to move fast and they haven't had enough inputs to get the output. So what do you do here? 6 times 4 is 24. Jump. 6 times 5. I couldn't put these far enough apart. And then you keep going over this and over this and over this. Then they do the back. When they've practiced it enough, the answer's gone. So you're practicing, and you can do this with a multitude of things. I'm doing multisensory movement instruction, okay? I'm not an interventionist, so if you see me on some paper that says, we're going to put Maxine as an interventionist, please, I want you to know what this program is so you know. And if this isn't in place, if these kinds of things are not in place, that cortex that can do only one job, those kids that sit and they can't comprehend, those kids that are, you think that are paying attention to you and then you ask them what you said, a lot of them have sensory deficits. They have not, because that cortex is going to take over. They're going to sit at you, look at you, and you're going to think that they're paying attention, and you ask them, they can't even regurgitate it because they're moving. And so a lot of times I have kids jump on trampolines. I did not bring a trampoline over. I have 4 of them, though, in that room because at the Laurentian it's really hard right now. We don't have the space. So basically this is what I'm doing. Some of the things that we do with, like your words here, how are we going to take what we have to do with the kids? And where's my red pen here? I'll just take a red pencil. So when you talk about intensifying a curriculum, you make it bold and bright or whatever. So you've got this, and these are your sight words. So you go like this: does. You start out. Do you see what I'm doing? And I'm tracking, and I'm working from left to right. I should have had my red pen, but you're doing this. The kids have to do does, and they auditorily say it as they go along. And they have to do this page, okay? And then you go to the second page. Oh, let's see, those were the words that we were using. Okay, now we have to pick does out of all these letters. So now I have to go from left and I go does, and I've got to find does, and I say it as I do it, does. This is how you do your paper, okay, going left to right. Then when they've done this enough and they know, okay, then it goes to this. Does is d, z, or d. They can sound it out or they can spell it out. And that's how they learn through a multi-sensory approach to learning, taking your curriculum and doing this. And we've done this with our first graders. Same thing with what you have in here too. And then we do what we call, I'm telling you, brainstem versus cortex. Brainstem are the things that need to be they don't need to be out there, because if the child is moving, when their cortex, those higher thinking skills that start from 6 on, that cortex is going to do these things that are not in place. It's going to affect how they learn. It's going to affect how they comprehend and whatever. So we do, the brain also needs to cross midline. So we do a lot of that. I'm going to show you through some things. We work with scars. I have scars and pool noodles and just, I can't tell you, with the help of people and, getting more equipment, we have just put together a fabulous program at Laurentian. I work with the teachers. They work with me. I'm working with them in their classrooms. We work together. I don't just take their kids and they've got free time. We work together and we work with groups. So I want to show you some things that we've adapted to at the Laurentian. And Mike has these up. And then I'm going to show you one more thing before we do that, is about when you talk about intensity, there are some kids that have a really hard time even doing that kind of sensory where they're doing left to right, but you're constantly, doing development things to go with the program. I have worked with Title I kids, and they've come to me, the teachers come to me when things just aren't, they'll say, oh, I'm having this issue or whatever. Black light, the brain likes red, that's why your folders are red. If you look in the room, red and bright colors stand out. Red is we always say that the brain learns a little bit faster with red, so you should be using laser when you're pointing to things up on the board, and I do have my laser pointer there. A laser pointer is great. Kids will follow that red dot, and they're apt to pay attention better. But so when you've got I don't know if you can see this. Mike said he couldn't turn the lights on, but and again, you don't ask for the output. You just keep working with cards. So you see the difference in the intensity? If you turn the lights down again, we're taking our already curriculum and we're making it bolder and brighter. Different ways of doing balance beams here.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh, she talks to me all the time. She's always bugging me. Siri, I need to shut her off. Sorry about that. So you can start out with a line on the floor. Okay. So I'm going to show you, and then rainbow tracing. 5 colors. So you've got the child that needs to practice their word. Okay? So you start out with a light color. You take 5 colors, and you take any kind of word. This is brain, R, ain. And if you're wearing anything in phonograms, you can underline that A, 2-letter A that we do use.
Yes.
Okay. And then you take the orange and you go over it again and you say the word and you say it. Another multi-sensory way of practicing words. I could show you a ton. I'm just giving you a few of the things that we do. So what we have done now I want to show you what we are doing. There is a video. Maybe we don't need to show that video. Maybe I can the only thing I didn't bring was a trampoline, a rebounder, and we put learning ladders up. We put learning ladders up, and the kids, instead of just saying the words, they practice them, and we always go from the bottom up because energy goes up. Then when they get really good, if they have 5 words, you jump and use a beanbag. We use a lot with beanbags. I put hoops on the floor and I call out a word, they have to shoot it into the hoop. So what we decided when we got $25,000 from A Chance to Grow, which you'll see on the front of the on your folder, when we, after 9 years, A Chance to Grow through the Northland Foundation raised $25,000. It's just the beginning where I'd like to see this program go. You cannot just take this class once and think you've got a SMART program. It takes a lot of practice, it takes mentoring. I had mentoring my first year for a couple of years to get myself, because it's a lot of changes how you think. And so we went from having the Franklin School to all this equipment that we had, and how are we going to do SMART after we had some more people trained. So we have this bridge, and I have ambassadors from the 6th grade that come and help me set this up. I'm there 2 days a week. It takes me an hour. My Uber driver drops me off. And it takes me an hour to set everything up that we do. Okay, this is one of our tracks that we have. And so the kids meet down in the cafeteria area, and we start out with crossing, because your brain needs to cross from right to left. You cannot read, you cannot be a good learner unless you can do this. Like sometimes we just practice doing this, and I talk and we have conversations. Now, does somebody want to do something for me to show you why crossing does something really good? Does anybody want to come up and?
I'll do it.
Okay. All right.
They'll do it.
Now I'm going to show you
Make me
why. Now you guys, I put on music. We've got music going all the time. Okay, so I want you to, now you don't have any shoulder problems, do you?
No.
Okay, no, because I want to show you. No, I'm
There you go, Bill.
No, I would have picked on you. But I want to show you what crossing the midline does, and why this would be a great break for kids, or if you're doing a meeting, or if you're falling asleep or whatever. But I want you to put your arms out like this, and I want you not to let me take you down. Okay? I don't want you to let me take you down. Okay? Okay, now do that.
Strong, Max.
Okay, now do it again. Okay, now, if you want to stand up and do this with me, you go right ahead. But we're going to do this, and we're going to cross midline. Okay? Let's do it to 30. Okay? Let's go. 1, 2, 3,
Good, stronger.
4. Count with me. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 8, almost done, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Who knew I had to do aerobics?
Okay, come on, now let me do it.
That is weird.
Do it! Okay, get
That's
the
a
other
trick.
arm.
She's a magician.
The other arm.
Yeah.
Come on, don't let. Honest to God, I can't. Do you know what just happened? I've taken down football players. John Adams caught on you. No, you know what? That was your ability to concentrate. Crossing midline when kids are tired How long does that take to do, to count to 30? You notice your kids are kind of antsy-pantsy or what? Get them up. 30. All of a sudden the brain concentrates. It wasn't that you were stronger. Now, I could not get you down the second time. Honest, my face was getting red. First time you were easy. So do you see why crossing midline is so important? So we work on that. So anyway, let's get back to what we do. So we start out in the morning and we always do spinning, and you'll talk about spinning. When you get older, your vestibular system needs to be exercised. When you're little, it needs to. It calms kids. So we put on music. When I get there also, there's music blaring all over the place. And so we do spinning, and then we practice crossing. And then we go up. We've got, all of the first grades. We had a fifth grade the other day, and we also have one second grade class that comes down. So for a half hour, we warm up. It's like you would never play a football game until you warmed up. You would never go into that game without practicing first. So we do learning readiness activities. And so we got all this beautiful equipment, and you'll see the hurdles that are there. And so I set up a different track every week. So Mike, that's one of them. Can you flip to the next one?
Sure.
And so there's balance beams. We go over, under. We have to go over tires. We have to do this over tires. And then I flip it out. I change it around. Every week I change it different. And so then they go, this will be another week. And I think we have a third one, don't we? Was that the third one?
Yeah,
that's the third one. But I just do this because those kids, those ambassadors come and they help me, because it takes me an hour every day to set this up. That's why I got to get this stuff out and back to the Laurentian for tomorrow. So we do this, and then we go into the smart room, which I am so blessed to have. It is, I'll cry if I can't use that room, but the kids go into that room, and what do we have next as a picture? Is that in the end?
I think we went through the 3 pictures.
Oh, the 3 pictures. Okay, then we go into the smart room. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the kids at Laurentian right now. I was able, and this is another thing that we have to, when you look at this, what I do and what this program has done for kids, I have been able to start with the 3 and 4s. If you look at that ontogeny chart, basic brainstem development starts the minute you're born, okay? We have a lot of kids that have come in for whatever reason that don't have that in place. They can't sit, whatever. Some of it is not developmental. Some is behavioral. But we have had some kids that have really struggled. And I got permission from a mother. I'm not going to tell you, but this girl came in last year. Not going to tell you her name, but she gave me permission to show the video of her. She cried. She was referred to me by kindergarten. This was back in at the Franklin, and we worked and worked and worked with her, and we kept, repeating this and encouraging. I don't say making, but encouraging her to do this. The other day, I took a video of her because I couldn't believe what had happened to her. Now, I don't like some of the scheduling thing that's happened. We only have FIAD 1 week for a week, and then we don't have it for 3 weeks. We also have kids that have services for OT, and they don't have very much of it. So a lot of what I do is OT. So I think, what is the first video?
That was the sideways one where they're in the hallway. The video in the hallway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a video of the new track where I put tape on the floor. Okay? That's not the beginning, that's the end.
It should restart.
Okay, and so I have these colored lines and they go like this, and then the kids
having some problems with the video.
Okay.
One sec.
And they have to differentiate, okay, now you're going to do red and white. Okay, now you're going to be, okay, that's alligator call, one of the basic things that they need, and you'll read about that a little bit. Now there's the track. Okay, they're on red and white, but maybe I'll say you have to do yellow. And so it's all mixed up and they have to figure that out. These are second graders. And then we have hopscotch. So I just started taping the floor. And so then I set up more. Okay, then the kids go into the smart room, and I always have a track set up. Okay, so I want to show you a little girl who came in last year in kindergarten, and I want you to see her development right now, last week. And I always have crazy music going on, so.
I have to switch to a different computer for the next video.
Oh, okay. And again, do you see this here? I'm going to just do a little eye training. Okay, your kids in the morning, okay, stand, follow the light. Where does the light go? Look at that red, just follow with your eyes. Okay, all right, now they're coming in to do things. I want you to keep your eye on this little girl right here. Okay, this is called stick scotch. It's like a upper vision or upper scaled hopscotch. Now I want you to watch her. Oh, it's going to come around. Because all of a sudden, I just caught view of her. Last year, couldn't do this. Couldn't do this at all. It was really a struggle, and we encouraged her. She's got a perfect balance beam walk because some of them go backwards. See all my stuff? I've got stuff, because we're constantly doing, look at her, perfect balance. A year ago, you wouldn't have seen this. And it's helping her learning because you're going to see in the next video, she's going to just jump over these. And then on Thursday, I put their first grade words, and they were hard words. They were bunny and niece. They were working, look at her. And she's right now just jumping over, okay? Just doing the hurdles. Okay, now show the other one. And I don't know if we're going to get the sound because I had music going on, but now there's words, and she's reading the words. The eyes are shifting from right to left, left to right, and she's reading the words. We didn't get the sound, did we? She had every word perfect.
Yeah, something happened with
Yeah,
the
that's
sound.
okay. That's okay. So that's what I want you to know that I'm doing. So when you have to make a decision, if we don't have this, an interventionalist can't do their job because this is all development. And there's so much more to this. And I know I went over 10 minutes, but I thank you because I have such a passion for your kids. I work with your son.
Talks about it all the time.
Yep, and you should see the gains that little boy has made.
Really?
If I could have showed you him last week, we just went, yes. And he has to work hard.
Oh, yes, he does.
Okay, so anyway, thank you.
I was just gonna say, when one of my children were smaller, we had to go and pay for some of these things down in Duluth. And I think it's great that you're offering it here, like these kinds of things. We have to go to an occupational therapist to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And I think my biggest point is that we are helping so many kids where parents come in and we can be threatening. We don't mean to be as educators, but we can be threatening. And it's hard for some parents to sign on that line and say, my child, we can help you, but you have to sign on the line. We don't sign on the line here. Everybody gets it. And everybody, and that's why I want to continue starting from the bottom up. Because I'm going to tell you about the Laurentians pre-K, the ones that are 4 or 5 that are going to go into kindergarten. they're developmentally ready. I wish I could bring them here and show you how they are ready. That brainstem development is right on. Yeah, we've got a couple because there's issues that it'll take more than a year, but I can't believe what we have accomplished and what we've accomplished. And then we've got some kids with discipline issues that are going to take some more time. We had that one last video, right? Yep. Okay, this is higher. Okay, we start out when you're going to have kids cross midline. You start here, then you go here, and then you give them pool noodles. Now look at this. These are kindergartens. I did it one time and then we taped it. We started in the middle. You know why they're in a hoop? Because of proprioception. Kids need a space. And so how do you teach kids about space? Give them a colored hoop. And then they know where their space is. And then eventually you don't have to have the hoop anymore. Yeah, they had just come from break and it was National Puppy Day. And so I used Chewy because puppies chew. We also have another video where STEM or STEAM or whatever you call was doing locomotion. So I took I can't show that one because I don't know who's on there that could be videotaped, but we tied that in with STEM and when we were doing our full group. I just want you to really know that we need this before almost interventions, because if that development isn't there, kids are going to have a hard time.
I just have a quick.
So thank you.
First of all, I love your energy. Like, it's amazing.
I don't know
love it.
I am.
You're young. I don't know. I just think you're young. You're awesome. I love it because it's so visual, and I am a visual learner, and I am one of those people that have sat in class and received information and not absorbed it. So I love that. This is so, I can see how beneficial it is, and I love that you brought it to us, because so many times we do hear of things and we read it and it just, sort of get it, but now that I see it, I love it. I can see the benefit for it. I'm just wondering, how does this work? Like, kids are referred, or it's just, and so are you?
We started with the bottom, and I worked so much time, okay? And now when we came together as a district, we became, I don't mean to have my back to you guys all the time, but we became, the way they paid us is different, I used to be hourly, now it's differently. So I'm prorated to do so much time. So I started at the bottom. I started with the 3 and 4s, and then
It's all of them?
it's all of them.
Got it.
All of them.
And you're only in Laurentian right now, or is there?
We trained some of the Parkview
Okay.
people. Yes, we did. And they have one advantage over us. They have 2 smart rooms going. We're barely hanging on to our one,
Yeah.
And I've gone over and mentored a couple teachers that have asked me, you cannot just take this for, I can't tell you how long. You know what, when they came up, to train last May, the people that I've trained hundreds and hundreds of teachers for 10 years. I don't do it anymore because I just don't want to do my summers. But they came up and they looked at what someone who's, because of what you've supported, whether you're on the board now or before, or what's gone on in the 10 years, she said, you have a Cadillac SMART program. She said, we don't know anybody that has developed what you have. I have bought my own materials. When I want something, I wanted more of those cones the other day. I just ordered them. Because if I need something, people have been very generous to, Noelle bought us all those plastic things that you see. We're working to get indoor monkey bars. We're trying to fine tune our playgrounds so we have more sensory things. But it's just a fabulous program. And you can't just say that you took the class once. And I've taken it many times. I've trained for probably in the last 10 years, 15 to 20 times, taking the class over again, and then I say, oh, this and this, because, you know, even when you're teaching, your first, second years of anything are difficult. So we're trying to implement that, and I am working with our teachers to implement more of this in, getting the creep tracks in, but we're limited for space. So that's why we're using that bridge, and we're having those kids do the smart track, and they go through all of those things when I'm there. So anyway, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come and see us, okay? Come and see us and see what really goes on.
It's only like 12 minutes. It only went over like 2 minutes or so.
All right.
If I'm quiet, can I clear out of here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I can't thank you enough.
It'll be a first if you're quiet, Max.
Okay. Up next is 5.1, the Rockridge campus parking lot updates and possible consideration of recommendation.
Good evening. As we start planning preparations, handbooks, everything else, one of the items we do have to consider is the parking lot and how we are going to function in the parking lot. A couple weeks ago, I did a quick survey, sent out a Google form to this year's sophomores and juniors, which is obviously next year's juniors and seniors, those students who are of driving age, and just asked them the question, what are you thinking as far as transportation goes and you getting to school next year? And again, I got about 30% back, 150 students replied to my survey, and just over 90% said they would be needing parking spaces. Obviously, that's probably a little skewed. I don't know how valid of a survey that is, given the students who really want parking probably filled it out really quick. But all in all, we just know that parking could become an issue at the new high school when we go there next fall. So what I did prepare for you today, number one, just a map. So the one is a map of what our current parking situation looks like. And I just numbered the parking lots for ease sake of identifying them, just so we kind of know what we're talking about. We're all talking the same parking lots. They really have the numbers really mean nothing other than I did it. So if you don't like the numbers that order, we can always change. But anyway, so just we had a quick glance. And I'm going to abbreviate this a little bit. But that first spot is about 76 spaces. We are estimating we're going to need about 130 adult spaces for staff at Rockridge High School. So that 130 includes teachers, paraprofessionals, food service, janitorial staff, kind of that whole big picture. And in that number one lot, which is kind of closest to the building, which is kind of been identified as a staff parking lot, there are 76 spaces. The number two lot right behind it, so that's between kind of the high school and this building directly behind. There are 127 spaces. And it is estimated that Orthopedic Associates is going to need approximately 25 spaces with staff and patient parking. And then district office staff as well may need 5 or so spaces there. And then the other two lots, 3 and 4, is what we looked at for student parking. And in those two lots, there is approximately 256 spaces. Actually, there are 256 spaces. The spaces directly kind of behind you along that parking lot would be district office staff parking, so it would be right on the curb. There are about 15 spaces there for district staff parking. So in kind of general, that's what our needs are. I am estimating that we are going to need 300 plus student parking spots after the survey I've given. That does not include sophomores in that survey, next year's sophomores. So as students go through their sophomore year, they turn 16, and some of them are going to want to drive to school. So it is estimated that we are going to be short student parking. if we would just allow everyone to come and park in the parking lot. So a couple recommendations. If that holds true, we would look at selling parking passes for a $20 fee. Again, that's just something we came up with that seemed very reasonable, but yet it does help pay for the parking pass itself, helps pay for someone to supervise the parking lot. And there are some real benefits. We really do need to know who's parking in the parking lot. We need to know whose cars are there, if they're parking incorrectly, if they're parking in handicap spots or visitor spots, all of those things. We really need to know which cars are there, and just to be able to track those types of things. So we did put a minimal fee, and then would open the parking up to obviously seniors first, down to juniors, and then to sophomores. And in the current situation, we would only sell 256 passes because that's how many spaces we have. So we wouldn't want to sell passes to our PSEO students, for example, who are then trying to come back to school and wouldn't have a lot, but yet they purchased a pass. So that's kind of the way it sits as we speak. Now, I know there has been conversations about the 1404 building. And if the district were to acquire that, obviously there would be additional parking in that lot. That when we just talked about it briefly, we would look at having that as an overflow parking for our staff. That would free up the number 2 parking area for students. And that way the students wouldn't be crossing the street after school, things like that, for safety concerns. And it would be more of the adults that are having to cross. We would look at having adults have parking passes too. Obviously, we wouldn't be selling our staff parking passes, but we would be having them have their car registered so we know exactly who is in the parking lot and who is not. Obviously, we would designate them differently from students so we could tell, we have a student parking in the staff parking lot and they shouldn't be, or we don't have anybody or someone without a parking pass at all is parking somewhere where they shouldn't, really limiting to the spaces we have provided. So if we were to acquire the 1404 building, I would expect that we would have over 350 spots, which I do believe would be enough for the entire student body, as well as all staff, including the 1404 building parking. With that, that's quick and simple. Do you have questions?
So what is the point of charging the $20 per student? I mean, is it like to try to deter some kids from parking or?
Not necessarily to deter them, but it is to actually get them to register and to truly get the students who need a parking spot to register. I suppose in a little you could say deter them, but if we open it up to anyone, I can almost guarantee you we will have 200 seniors all take a parking pass. We will be down to 56 for juniors. We will run out of parking passes. And not all of those students come and park every day. So the other purpose for charging, there will be some costs for parking passes. I mean, to purchase the parking pass itself. And then there will also be some costs for some staff to monitor the parking lot. So those are kind of the two reasons for it. We did think $20 was pretty reasonable. I know many other districts charge much, much more. My previous district did. But again, I also know that it's new for here, so it will be a big adjustment.
Would like a lottery be a possibility for getting parking passes?
Anything's a possibility. The problem, if you don't start with juniors and seniors, and I don't know how low your lottery is going to go, you're going to have students that truly are going to need spaces because of PSEO or things off campus, that if they don't have them, they may not come back to go to classes, then they may stay at PSEO rather than just go to PSEO for 1 hour, things like that.
So why would Orthopedic Associates not have to buy passes? They're actually a business.
They're, I
They're a
get,
tenant.
yeah, but they've also, I mean, they're paying for a lot of the things over in their area already.
Well, those are their things. I have a daughter who
And
works
providing a
at,
service for-
I have a daughter who works at Abbott Northwestern, and those employees, they have to pay for parking. So,
Yeah, I think Duluth does too, for the hospitals there, yeah.
their own employees, yeah.
So you say that 300 is a pretty good number?
300 for,
Students.
that's what we're going to need?
Yeah.
I believe we're going to need 300 plus, yes.
So we gain about 50 with the 1404 building?
Well, you could use the 1404 building for overflow parking for everyone if you really needed it. You would gain, I don't know how many spots are there. Was it 200, Dr. Schmidt?
About 200.
How do we make an incentive for carpooling for staff and students? You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, students are carpooling, hey, you don't have to pay. I mean, how you monitor it, I don't know.
Monitor it, but
Yeah.
Well, you would just do the permit per vehicle, not per student, probably. They'd register their vehicle. If they had 4 kids in a vehicle, they could split that permit, couldn't they? If
Yeah.
they wanted to? Because you're just caring about the
probably the
vehicle.
biggest way to really encourage carpooling is raise the fee.
Yeah, only $20. Nobody's gonna, it's gas from Virginia. to
$20
here.
doesn't buy much anymore.
Right.
I just know historically, I think in Evelyn Gilbert, which I hate to, go back, it was based on a lottery system. And there was just a simple, if I remember right, it was just a simple number in the window, wasn't there? Just a number that they put in the window.
Yeah, I believe so.
And that number 10 was, registered to this person. But that got you into the parking lot. Otherwise, people, I think, had to park on the street otherwise, right? I think I'm pretty sure that's how it went.
So there's just no option if you don't have you can't park on the street, obviously.
We should put no parking signs on that street.
Yeah.
It'd be a terrible, add a lot of congestion in the morning or morning drop-offs or afternoon pickups if there was parking on the street.
It seems short-sighted, I guess. I don't understand why we have this problem. Like, why wasn't this accounted for before? And I know a lot of parents are upset because, even I have a friend who has a sophomore and they live in Britt, and she's like, he has to drive. And then he has sports after school. How is he going to get home? How is he going to get to his sports? Are you going to provide transportation? So I just feel like this is, I'm disappointing, actually. that
Parking lots are
there's not
expensive.
spots.
Yeah.
Parking lots are very expensive.
Yeah,
Well-
I can answer that question.
So is the school.
Going back to when this whole thing started. The basic answer here is that there is no room anywhere to expand any parking lot. The Laurentian parking is as big as we can make it. The high school, there is no place to expand the parking lot to. The parking lots down at the ball fields, there is no area to expand that parking lot. We made those parking lots as big as we could. And unfortunately, we did not have someone with $2 million willing to donate it to us to blow up a hillside, fill in a swamp, cut a big swath of trees we couldn't cut out. There is no other place to put parking spaces. And originally when this whole thing, but I get it, people are wondering, is that there were a number of places we looked at originally when this whole thing started. This was the best place. That's why this building was purchased. We needed the land because it was flat land. There is no flat buildable land in these communities. It's very rare commodity, as we found out. There's railroad tracks all over the places, and so these were the sites. A committee spent a lot of time looking at it. The city of Evelyn was very good to work with on purchasing the land there. City of Virginia was very good. We would have loved to have put more parking lots in. We can't.
Can we?
Personally, I think hindsight is 2020. One of the things I wish we would have done differently is, the landscaping. There's sections of the parking lot that are, there's grass there or whatever, and there's curbs around it and things like that. I wish we wouldn't have done that because it would have made plowing easier. It would have made some more parking spots. I don't know if it would have made 200, but it would have made some more. That's the only thing that I think, hindsight is 2020. I wish would have been done differently.
Can we take the gate to the ball fields and move that back to get some on-street parking there? To the ball fields?
I mean, you would pick up some spaces, but we opened the gates anyway.
No, I'm talking like in the wintertime when the ball fields are closed and.
It won't help, because that's why the real solution is the 1404. But keep in mind, though, that we are going to have to encourage students to carpool. There's nothing wrong with that, with having kids carpool. They can go 2, 3, 4. That's what happens in most schools who have this situation. Staff also, there's carpooling. People can carpool also, who are employees. But the parking is here. It is here. We just might have to have some kind of a system for how people are acquiring it.
What do we have, any kind of ideas of, like in the city, you have a park and ride. You park further away and you get bused to your destination. What's wrong with that? We've got all kinds of land around here.
Like where that wet restaurant was in the Evelyn area, it's been gone and out for years, but I wonder if you could get that.
There's that frontage road all the way to the college and J&M and who knows where. But
That's a good idea.
We could, but I really don't want to catastrophize this. There is parking here. It's here. Even on the ball fields, if people go down, I know they go down there because they want to park by the ball fields. For a lot of folks, it's easier to just park up here. Right here, take the trail down, boom, you're right at that softball field. So folks also can, instead of parking down the lower levels and getting frustrated, they can park up here, take the trail down, they're right at those softball
Are there
fields.
signs there to tell them? I'm just wondering, because I don't think people know that either.
As I'm sitting here right now, no, we do not have
Yeah.
signs out for that.
That's something that we should think about.
It's all new. It's all new.
Right, I get it.
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, I would have thought that the experts would have had better planning, but
They did. They looked through this, and McKinley Horm is the one who was looking at it, and they looked at the size of our student body, the size of our staff, and as you've heard Mark say, you have enough parking for your employees. You have enough parking for your juniors and seniors. Your worst case scenario is you're going to have some kids who carpool, and you might have some sophomores who, if you don't acquire the 1404, you're going to have some sophomores who can't drive.
Well, if you only have so much of something, you have to just work with what you have. And if it's carpooling or lottery or, not every kid has to come one person in a car, just like in the city. You can go in the fast lane if you have 2 or more people. And, some kind of a system like that can be worked out too. But just because you want to drive to school, you might have to give priority to those cases like Nicole was talking about, or some other things, the PSEO, and we have what we have, and we have to prioritize, I think. I don't think we need to buy the 1404 building for many, many reasons, and especially not make that a reason for parking. We're going to have buses parked in that parking lot too. I don't know how many spaces will be taken up by buses, because they all can't go inside. Any more costs to that 1404 building? More plowing, everything.
okay, so it is what it is. So we have to, I guess, decide what we want to do. Is that what?
No.
Are we deciding anything today?
Consideration of a recommendation.
So the board can either think about it, you've heard it, you can think about it and decide nothing, and we can bring it back 2 weeks from now. But your board probably really needs to tell us which direction you want to go, especially if there's a fee involved.
I'd make a motion to accept the recommendation.
Support.
We got a motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Reardon to take the recommendations from Mr. Winter. Any discussion?
Now, John, does that include the recommendation to buy the 1404 building?
No.
No.
Yeah, I would like to sit on it a little bit and talk about it.
I don't even know if this came to the facilities committee. I know I missed the last one, but I don't think it was on the agenda.
I'm talking about the parking passes in general.
Well, be specific, I guess.
I think,
I feel like it deserves to be talked out a little bit, just even the schematics of it and
My other ideas.
Should we talk?
I'm assuming you guys have had multiple meetings on, and that's why you're coming forward with this recommendation, because you feel administration, staff feels like this is the best route to go.
Yes.
And the other thing, it lets the students that are coming back next year know before they leave the building this year what the possibilities are going to be.
So John, your motion is just about parking passes?
Yeah, I mean, there's no motion to buy the 1404 building. We already voted a week or two ago to send a team of 3 to ask for, get a sell price or an asking price on the 1404 building. So that's clearly not, my motion isn't to say buy the 1404 building. It's to do the 256 student parking passes as presented.
Okay, and with no other detail about how we prioritize.
How they're gonna be doled out.
Seniors first.
That's what the recommendation,
Yep.
yeah, seniors, juniors, sophomores.
And anything about PSEO kids?
So
SEO kids would be 99.9% juniors and seniors.
Okay. And would there be any priority for teachers or other staff? Or they would all be, pretty much.
There would be a staff parking lot, and then there would be student parking lots.
Yeah, but the staff, there wouldn't be any staff shortages or any lotteries? We have room for all of our staff?
Yes, on your map, between lots 1 and 2, there would be enough parking for staff.
And that's not just teachers, that's all staff?
Yes, all staff in the building.
Okay. Paras and maintenance and
From food service
everything?
to paras to teachers.
Okay.
And we got motion by Director Yuan, support by Director Reardon. Move forward with the parking passes.
John, does your motion include the $20 for the pass or just the pass?
yes.
Knowing that's going to cost me $20.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, or motion, is that unanimous?
Yep.
All right, thanks. Up next, 5.2 is the bronze relief sculptures flanking the entrance of Goodman Auditorium. That was a mouthful.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We would like to thank you, the school board, for this opportunity to discuss the artwork, The Hope Within, and its desired placement in the Rock Ridge Public Schools. I have been asking myself, what will it ultimately take to gain endorsement for the reinstallation of the memorial sculpture, The Hope Within, to the Rock Ridge Public School? I believe the answer is found in the artwork's content, mission, and classic timeless beauty. To get right to the artwork's core, death is something many of us are very uncomfortable speaking about, but to die is human, and anything human is mentionable, and anything mentionable is manageable. We are called to do things with great love. This sculpture is love in action. The hope within is for all who are suffering with the death of a child or a loved one. The sculpture exudes compassion, trust, and hope, which are basic to our humanity. As stated, if it is human, it is mentionable, and if it is mentionable, it is manageable. Therefore, the hope within is a great service to our public school community. The plaque by the sculpture marks the artwork's birth. As the artwork in our community matures, we have become witness to far deeper tragedies. We all must deal with school tragedy. The hope within is the advocate, the school's visual expression of trust, care, and love for all. A progressive memorial for a very progressive school. The hope within carries us all with hope and compassion. Around 19,000 children and teens in the U.S. are shot or killed or wounded annually. Source: Everytown Research, PBS. It is interesting to note, today, Mother's Day was established by presidential proclamation in 1914. The foundations for public memorials throughout our history are often started by mothers for their beloved dead. So with hope for our deceased, that we will provide recognition and solace. Thank you. I want to just have a few handouts for you. Mr. Goodman will speak. But this is a little detail sculpture, the joy of life that's in place in the sculpture. So we're talking, please pass it if you'd like. And, just some information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And here's some visuals.
Sure, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kathy. My name is William Goodman. I was an instructor. I'm retired. Was an instructor at Hibbing Community College. And the last part of my educational career was professor at Indiana Wesleyan University. Experience that I wanted to always have, and was given the opportunity later in my career. I'd like to thank the board for inviting us or having us to be able to present these things to you. And I'd like to thank the public and the different institutions that have supported this work and supporting the continuation of the work as far as bringing it to the schools if that's a possibility. There are a number of people that are on the list that you have, Kathy handed out, and I can't go through all of them. I could, but there are about 28 different contributors. Some of the names I would probably slaughter if I went through all of them, so I'm not going to do that, but you have a list of them. I'm here to find out what will happen to the work of art that I created for the Virginia High School, The Hope Within. It was created in 2003. I met with and spoke to Dr. Schmidt, who's here. I spoke with Willie Speltz and Tom tomorrow also, but I don't know if Tom is still on the board, and I have not actually met either of these last two people, but spoke with them on the phone or through the internet. spoke with them about the work and about the possibility of how it would be moved and if it would be moved to the new location. I'm here to answer any questions that you would have about the work itself and about the process of moving the work, because you may have questions about that. The artist statement for the Hope Within, it's a 6-panel bronze sculpture. It depicts human figures in motion. The memorial represents humanity as finite and infinite. I don't know whether you've observed the work or not, but there's a large circle in perspective that is part of the sculpture, and a large square. They're not easily detected, but they're there. The circle and square have been used for centuries to represent the square, the finite, and the circle, the infinite, by several cultures. And both physical and spiritual elements are represented in this sculpture, which brings a positive outlook to our walk through life. One of the contributors to the brochure was Jessica Bashinsky, and so this statement is in the brochure itself. She passed away just prior to the installation of the work. But in this letter to herself, she states a quote first from Bob Dylan. In the immortal words of Bob Dylan, the times are changing. They are a-changing. Tomorrow my high school career is over, and people don't realize how much everyone and everything means to them until it's almost gone, including me. I guess I've accomplished quite a bit through these years and have plenty to show for it, but the things I'll take with me on the mind's journey through life are the intangibles, the memories, the friendships, the lessons of love and humility. And even though I can't thank Jessica personally, the work celebrates her life and the positives in terms of our hopes, in terms of the future. Not being specific about any of it, it's not that the nature of this. This is a universal piece that speaks to the fact that we are finite, but the hope that there is something that we can look to beyond the finite. And all people look to that. Something else I'd like to have you consider is the value of the work itself. It's difficult for an artist who's created a specific work to speak about value. Obviously, there were costs involved in terms of the creation of the work, but do we want to not carry this work forward in terms of the future? I would propose that we do want to carry it forward and to look back at a position of taking by the board of not bringing it into the new school. What will happen to the work? And the loss of that value, I think, is something we need to consider as well. I want to open it up to questions in terms of being able to answer any questions that you might have about the work, or its moving to the new location, or I'd love to hear input as far as what your aspirations are for the work itself as well. So that's what I'm here for. Answer any questions and to hear what views you have.
Is it a pretty heavy piece of artwork?
It is. It weighs 200 pounds per panel. So there are 6 panels, so 1,200 pounds. The discussion about the weight of the panels themselves has been brought forward prior to the construction of the building, but I don't know what was ever done with that. But, something that needs to be addressed in terms of where it would go.
I do believe that the panels, I know have been discussed, that they will be taken down and basically stored here. Is that correct, Noel? Be stored here, until we find a place either in the building or a proper place to display them. I know that Tom has always mentioned that to me in regards to these sculptures that were donated years ago and their significance.
And so some of the works are being stored at this time, or?
Yes, members of yes, great to see you again, William. By the way, because I think it was a couple years ago when we first met. So we have a number of pieces of art that are in this building. They are in storage right now because we're waiting to see, once we get past the building construction, the moving of the buildings, we have a number of pieces that they're here in storage right now. So on these pieces, these are unique to Virginia High School right now. We have not brought in pieces from the other buildings into the new high school or to the 2 elementary schools right now. The pieces, some of the pieces have the various historical societies have asked for them. And you have another request tonight for the Virginia Historical Society to get some of those items. Same thing that happened last year. You had some requests for this. There are some other pieces that we have kept in this building. We are thinking to remove those because Virginia High School, as of this minute, is going nowhere. You don't have money to take Virginia High School down. So we were thinking to remove those pieces, and you certainly, because this is an unusual situation, they are heavy. So you need certain backing, and they were put on the walls a certain way.
Yes.
So someone who was there and saw it would be helpful. So we would take them down, then we would secure them, being careful to remove them. Then we would put them in a safe location until the board, you decided what to do with not only these pieces, but all of the pieces. There's a lot. There's pictures, there's friezes, there's statues, there's a lot of things that we have in storage. And this would be one of a bunch of other stuff we have from all 3 buildings that exist, not only from Virginia High School. This piece is a little different. These pieces are unique. We don't really, but I can almost say that about every piece of art that's coming from any one of the 3 buildings. It's unique because they were uniquely put up. There was unique times. So
Excuse me, it's a little more than unique. It's memorial, and it's how we express that as a school to the community.
I understand that. With the board here, right now, I guess our recommendation would be to just hold off. Some of this could be put up in the admin building here. These pieces also could be up here somewhere. We don't know. So we do know we need to take them unless you tell us differently. We were going to remove them safely and then put them in a secure, safe place until you knew what you wanted us to do with them.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, I do think this is a little bit different than some of the other artwork. And I personally, because I'm a fan of artwork, I do like the idea of incorporating some into our buildings. That's our history, right? I think this is a little different in the fact that, yes, it was in Virginia, but it really represents all of the kids, even in the entire nation. So it's not like it's just, Virginia kids or whatever. It's a memorial for anyone who's lost child.
Funding came from all over.
It came from all over, yeah.
Youth and all over. It is not just, sorry.
Anyway, that's just what I see, but, yeah, maybe right now is not the right time to decide where it goes, but it's my opinion.
Because they're so heavy and hard to move, why would we want to move them twice? Would we maybe just move them one time when we finally decide what to do with them? And even though I'm not from the former Virginia School District, I think that these panels should be incorporated in the new high school. That's my personal opinion. But I think maybe that if the majority agree with that, then maybe we could talk about where in the building and or how we would move them. But I think that's the first decision to make.
I think maybe after the open house, we can all tour the building and maybe come back with some suggestions on where we'd like to see them in there. That would be, I mean, into the entryway of the commons. That's probably where the most significant.
Where everybody would see them, yeah.
Everybody would see them. I mean, not so much into the basketball part, but again, you got to find a place for them.
Although they.
And I believe that just because of the significance of them, being that they are artwork, but they are artwork for a memorial type thing, not, they're not about like the Virginia schools. I mean, to say that they were from Virginia, I mean, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's a memorial for the children and those who are no longer with us.
So they came from outside of the auditorium, the Goodman Auditorium, and there's performing arts, there's visual arts, there's all kinds of arts. And so I think, just my personal opinion, I don't know how it's going to end eventually, but outside of our new auditorium, our performing arts auditorium would probably be very proper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the road I would like to go down.
Yeah, well, let's explore the placement of them in the future.
The size of the wall and
Yeah.
if it'll fit.
Even if we have to construct or erect something solid enough to display them in a nice visual form itself, a nice artistic structure to put them on, if we can't put them on the existing walls for whatever reason.
There have been other heavy works that I have installed after the building was created. For example, at the Hibbing Hospital, there's a tulip garden that is made out of bronze and ceramic. That particular wall, in order to support the weight, required plywood to be applied that was attached to the walls where the studs were, and then down to the floor so that the weight would be transferred to the floor. So that is one possibility, but that would require a contractor to come in and actually do that. But the wall would have to be prepared or be masonry or something of that nature to be able to attach it. The existing wall is structurally very sound, and each panel is attached at 4 different locations. It's pinned to the wall so that it wouldn't be able to be lifted up and have it fall. So it will require knowing how to unpin it to the wall. It's not in a deceptive way, but it's made hidden so that it can't just be done easily, so that it wouldn't be vandalized or someone wouldn't be hurt by it falling. Each panel weighs about 200 pounds. So.
I think this would be a perfect project for our classes with engineer,
I was
with
thinking that too,
welding,
yeah.
with carpentry, and that would be a good way for us to, and then they take pride in it too.
When it does come time to remove it from the wall, I feel that I would be compelled to be here to be able to help move it.
I think that's a good idea.
Equipment to be able to lift each of the panels up from the wall itself, to be able to carefully get them down.
That'd be a good idea.
I feel that I would want you to make contact with me, or actually come to a decision tonight in terms of when it could be taken down and where it should be moved to, but some of these things we have to eventually come to a decision about, so.
Well, I would make a motion that we go ahead and remove those panels with you there and the buildings and grounds, and maybe Mr. Tamero, he knows a lot about how those are installed, do you not? I mean, we talked about it a lot. Make a motion to get them removed and get them here until the board can find a place in the new building.
I would
Get something built.
Support that.
Okay. Okay. So basically, my motion would be just to get them removed safely, transported safely, brought here until we could find a place,
Appropriate place, yeah.
appropriately put them in the new school. Okay. Any discussion, any more discussion on this?
Is there any storage area in the new school itself for storage?
I haven't been in there just but a couple times, so I don't know if there's storage. I mean,
Yeah.
here it's, you're not going up and down steps or up and down elevators, so having it here would be,
Well, just wondered if that's where it's going to end up.
so that's just my thought. I mean, there's a lot of stuff already stored here already. So any more discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So what we'll do is Dr. Schmidt will work with the buildings and grounds, hopefully, and get you involved in the removal of them and getting them transported here safely. Okay?
Just some points of clarification as far as, they can't just be stacked on top of each other.
Oh, that's beyond my scope of, you're the boss. How they're transported safely, that was the key words, stacked on top of each other like books, I don't think so. Maybe wrapped in.
Would be hurt and that kind of thing, so they.
Well, I think this is a controlled environment,
Right.
so I think they're not, it's not super hot in here, it's not ice cold, I think, setting them up so we can, lean them against the wall here so we can all look at them, once you get them here.
But we'll talk. It'll most likely be July, August timeframe.
Yeah, the school would need to be out and that, that kind of thing, but that sounds good.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Really, I do thank you for your time.
Oh,
Words can't thank you enough. Sincerely thank you for this,
Welcome.
for your time and
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
there's that stuff.
Okay, 5.3, the presentation on Rockridge Crisis Safety Plan Update.
Good evening, school board. Just like to talk a few minutes about our school safety and our crisis plan, and give you an update about where we're going in Rockridge with our crisis safety plan. I'm Dr. Irvin again, principal with Gilbert High School, and currently will be heading up the district safety and crisis teams. I have 4 items tonight that I'd like to talk about related to safety and crisis here in Rockridge, and I'll update you for it here briefly. First thing, a few weeks ago, I pulled together our principals, 3 local police departments, 3 local fire departments, St. Louis County Sheriff's Office, the State Patrol Office, along with some people at the HSEM department. It's the Homeland Security Emergency Management Department, division of the Minnesota Department of Public Safety. We all came together, met at the new high school. We collected some key contact information. We had detailed tours of the school, talked about school safety, discussed key roles and who's in charge of specific crisis situations, not only at the high school, but in every school building in our district. A special thanks goes out to Randy Johnson, from HSEM for coming up from the Twin Cities to attend this. The second thing I'd like to talk about and update the board on is I'm working on updating our crisis plans in the district as well. We've been enlisting the help, or I will be enlisting the help of the HSEM office down in the cities to help rewrite our plan, which will be a district-wide plan. We'll have building level specific information on the plan as well. Folks at the HSEM have lots of experience, and they work with schools and other public entities across the state of Minnesota. They've been trying to get a foothold up north, and I've invited them up here, and they're going to help us with our school safety plan. They have tons of experience. When the plan is updated this fall, in August, we will be rolling this out to our staff and students this fall. Again, implementing the ALICE principles in our school district. Third item to update you on is the Crisis Go app. What is the Crisis Go app, you might ask? Bill Bryson and I are meeting with the Crisis Go people to get things updated in the app. And what the app does, it gives the person or a person the ability to call a lockdown, communicate from the app in crisis situations. Messages can be sent to specific groups, even our students. The app does sync with our PowerSchool system. So in the event of emergency evacuation or reunification event, class lists and information systems are available so that everyone safely can be sent home with the correct people in the event that we have an emergency in our school district. The fourth item I'll talk to you about is just, I want to actually thank the board for approving a full-time school resource officer for our district next year. The full-time officer will be coming from the Virginia Police Department. I've also consulted with the Evelyn Gilbert Police Department and Gilbert Police Department's Chief Lindy and teacher, and they both support the plan that we have in the district. Chief Mattson of Virginia will be recruiting and finding an officer for this super important position. So with that, that's our crisis and safety management update. Any questions for me from the board members?
No.
I've also spoken with, in the past, I don't know how many months, with the chiefs of police of the two entities, cities, and there seems to be a shortage of officers to fill that role, but we did talk about some other options that maybe there could be personnel in the sheriff's department that might fill that role for some of our other schools. And so just because we don't have that in our two communities at this point in time, I guess I dropped the ball and I didn't follow up on that either, but that was on my to-do list. So have you talked with the sheriff's department or St. Louis County?
Yes, I have. I've talked to the county as well, the state patrol. We've had them all in this meeting. And the conclusion is right now we have a spot for one police liaison officer next year, full-time. And that will be coming through the Virginia Police Department.
Okay. Any discussion about any of our other buildings?
I spoke with the police liaison officer will be available to work in all of the other buildings, but will be based out of the high school.
Okay, we've got 3 on this side now and 1 over there, but that's kind of a lot of coverage. I just wondered if we'll probably have to talk at another point about maybe having another one.
Well,
Share the
this
load.
is an ad for the district. I know this year we have a half-time police liaison officer, so we'll be going to full-time. And there were discussions about increasing that as well in the future, but for now, you want to approve this.
Has there been any discussion about trainings for students? Because that was one of the concerns they brought up at the leadership meeting that I went to with the youth. They were concerned about, just safety in the building. So has there been discussions about, having conversations with them?
Definitely for staff and students, we will be doing some training. All of our principals are ALICE certified in the district. So we will be rolling out this crisis plan, making sure students and staff are trained well and know what to do in the event of any situation that comes up.
Okay. Did any part of the conversation include possibilities of any staff or teachers that are comfortable with or are trained to have firearms in a locked space or available somewhere? Was that part of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay,
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Yep.
You too.
5.4, Parkview Principals Report.
Good evening, school board members. I'm going to do my best to talk as long as I can. For some reason, I'm losing my voice. The end of the year is coming. We're 3 weeks away, and there's lots going on in the elementary schools. We have our field trips coming up. Kindergarten is going to Mr. Ed's farm. First grade is going to the Bear Center up at Ely. Second grade took theirs at the end of April, and they are in, or they went to Grand Rapids to watch to the Rave Center. Excuse me. So those end of the year field trips are coming up. Our game day is coming up on May 24th for all of our kids. Pre-K is actually having their game day this Thursday.
Thank you for shutting the door.
They do it
Sorry,
separately
Sheena.
from us. That's okay. They do it separately from us. So theirs is this Thursday. Ours is May 24th. We're back to having a spring sing. I know parents have really missed having concerts in the schools and having those kids perform for them. So we're, after long COVID years here, we're having our first spring sing since I've been the principal. But back to that. So that's happening on the 16th, next Tuesday for us. We just last week had our Title I Family Fun Night, and that was at the Parkview, but it was for all three of our buildings. It was a great event. We had, I think, approximately 150 people show up. Kids went and did a bunch of different educational stations and games around the gym, and then we had prizes at the end that they could pick from, fed them some pizza. It was just a great night all around. Everyone that I talked to there said they had a great time. We are in the midst of our STAR testing. I know I've talked to you about this before, so I'm bringing it up again. I'm very excited to see the growth that our students have made from September until now. So I'm looking forward to that. We just started that this week, but I'm looking forward to looking at those scores and seeing the growth that we made this year and the areas that we could still improve on and the areas that we did really well. Our enrollment currently, as you know, kindergarten enrollment went out end of March. We are at 83 at the Parkview right now, currently registered for kindergarten. It's right around where we usually are. We gain quite a few at the end of August now. So our enrollment is pretty much where we expected it to be. Pre-K enrollment is busting at the seams. We have a lot of pre-K enrollment going on. So, and then the last thing that I have on here to mention, when I talked to Mrs. Cush, she said that they are doing 2 summer ECFE family events, one in July at the Vale Recreation Park, July 11th, and then one at Alcott Park on August 15th for those ECFE families or families with kids around that age. So, questions for me? Stop talking, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next is the treasurer's report.
Okay, you want to
Yeah,
do that?
I don't think there's anything for you to.
Okay.
Right.
All right, treasurer's report, bank balances as of April 30th, 2023. This is from our checking savings account for Miners National Bank. Our balance is $4,516,918. Franson Bank, we have $3,028,456. First National Bank of Gilbert, $1,616,431. Minnesota Trust PMA Securities, $655,885. Minnesota School District Liquid Asset Funds, we have $321,385,000, sorry, trying to be fast. Total of $10,139,085. Construction bonds funds from Ellers Investment Partners, there's a balance of $16,845,297. For our OPEB funds, Minnesota Trust /PMA Securities, our balance is $9,004,085, and Mid-America is $5,102,220, and our balance is $14,106,305. Here ends the report.
I'll move approval.
So moved by Director Sorkin.
I'll second.
Second by Director Westby. Any discussion on the treasury report? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 5.6, discussion of criteria, duties, and process for selecting student board reps for the 2023-2024 school year. We had a discussion about having student reps,
Right.
but we don't know how to get there.
Well, we want you to tell us what you're looking for, and then we'll look for the students. For example, do you want the students to be here the entire meeting, or are they just going to present? Do you want one? Do you want two? Do you want us to find the students for you, or do you want to interview the students? That's the kind of thing we would like you to tell us what you want.
This is how I vision it. I envision having them here the whole time. They are not voting members, obviously, but they are able to contribute to discussions, especially when it comes to certain things that, are going on in the schools or topics that come up that, they want to provide input for. I envision two people, a senior and a junior. So that, when the junior moves up to a senior, they can mentor the junior. I see it as being an application process and the school board doing interviews. I don't know, that's just kind of how I envisioned it. I envisioned them being a part of the school board and even possibly doing like phase 1 of the MSBA training. I think there's school districts that we can reach out to that have done the same and had school, student reps on their boards, and we can, use them as a resource for how they work things. But I'd like to see them be more of an active role. And from what I heard when I went to talk to some kids here at the high school, they seem to want that. They want to do interviews. They don't want it to be a vote by popularity. They want to have applications. They want to go through an interview process and have that experience as well. And they want to be able to provide input. So that's how I envision it.
I would concur with what you said. I like it.
I will.
Yep.
I think so. It'd be like a 2-year term for, so right now we'd fill the 2 spot with a junior and senior, but that junior would do basically a 2-term. So then going forward, we would only need, every year, we would have to interview like a junior.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's how.
And then they would do a report on,
I've done it.
do their own report as well, like that.
Yep. What's going on.
What's happening at the
Yep.
school and.
Yep.
Okay.
And they've done that before in previous board, like the Evelyn Gilbert board. I don't want to speak about, Virginia because I wasn't there, but the Evelyn Gilbert board had a student rep, but they only attended for the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
Where they gave a report at the very beginning of what's going on in the school, when prom was, different activities that they're doing, that kind of a thing. And then they were able to leave right after. And I want them to be more involved in the school board.
I like it.
In Virginia, we had the same thing that you laid out. The only thing that I would suggest is not make it mandatory that they have to stay the whole meeting, because a lot of times these kids are very active. They might be in the play, or they might have a sport that they're going to or something, and once in a while they would have to leave. So I wouldn't want to make it mandatory
Well, we won't reprimand them if they leave. We'll
Right.
let them.
I would like to see them make a commitment though
Yeah.
to the board, you know, because
Yeah,
if we're gonna send them to an MSBA training or anything like that, I mean, I'd like to see them make the commitment to be on the board and to be a part, you know, a voice for the student body. And I think that that should be, you know, they should know going into filling out an application that they could potentially be at a school board meeting for 2-3 hours. I mean, it's, you know, twice a month.
Yep.
And if, you know, they can elect to be on committees as well, but being here at the school board meetings, I think is important.
I agree.
I like it.
Anything else from any board member?
No, all good.
They get any credit at school for
I think
anything?
Brandy said it all.
Randy said it all.
You know, I do think that there was, I do believe that there was a school district that spoke at one of the workshops during the MSBA conference, and I want to say that they did get some sort of credit for,
Probably
For participating.
poli-sci or
Yeah.
social studies or something,
Yeah.
for participating, and that too.
Civics.
You know,
Civics,
that too would kind of encourage them and be like, you know, you need to make a commitment to be here because you're getting credits or whatever for it as well, so.
Okay,
And they're also eligible then for the MSBA. They give out two $4,000 scholarships every year.
Yeah,
That's terrific.
Nothing to sneeze
Yeah.
at there, that's good. Yeah.
yeah.
all right, we will make it so.
Don't make it snow.
No, don't say
We're
that.
just going to skip summer, we're just going to go straight to
No.
winter again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Make it so.
Thank you for putting that on the thing, on the
Right, so
agenda.
we're moving on, 5.7, school attendance boundaries. That seems to be a topic again with an email that I received. Who's gonna?
So we were asked to put this on the agenda for board discussion. We included the document that the prior school board had approved for most for elementary attendance boundaries. We have followed that exactly this year. There was, especially earlier in the year, there were some parents who it didn't, you had adopted as the attendance boundary for the two elementary schools, it didn't jive with their particular family schedule or which elementary they wanted or their daycare. And so as time has gone by, those families have worked through those. There are some individuals who are not happy at all with the attendance boundaries and want us to do something different for them. We have not done that to this point. And so partly why it's on the agenda is if you want something done differently than what we're currently doing, tell us. I do need to let you know ahead of time that we do not have the drivers to, and that's one of the reasons we haven't deviated from the board plan. We don't have the drivers and we don't have the vehicles to be picking people up across elementary attendance boundary lines and taking them to a different elementary building. And we've had actually very few issues with the high school. Almost all the issues have come up in the elementary area. But from the big picture perspective, there really hasn't been a lot. Although if you're a particular parent, this could be a very personal, very intense thing within the household. So it's back on the agenda for this board to talk about.
My biggest concern has been in the emails that I have received. My biggest concern is, you know, when we have been talking about equity, and my biggest concern is families that are split families and ensuring that, you know, we're not making things difficult for them because they, you know, if one lives in the Evelyn Gilbert, you know, area and the other one lives in Virginia, it's like, it feels like a consequence to them or a punishment to them because they have a split family. And I don't feel that that's right. I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert in the transportation and how everything's going and routing and whatever, but it just seems to me that isn't there some sort of compromise we can come to for those, families in those situations? That's the thing that I have the hardest time with. And I understand, we don't have a lot of daycare options around here. And so when there are transportation issues, getting from daycare, whatever the case may be, that can be difficult too. But I especially feel for the families who are split families, and that's their situation, and they shouldn't be penalized for that reason. And I know that it's probably not a ton of people, but it does impact some. If we have a bus that goes right by there, or the parent could bring them to a nearby location where they can, swing through and pick them up. I mean, I would assume that our transportation director has made some, looked at all the options. I would assume that that's happened, but I don't know. I just wish that we could figure something out for
And
families.
they can. We tell parents, if you can just get them to a bus stop, if you would like your child to go to the other building, perfect. And if you can pick them up from a bus stop, perfect. Or if you can drive them, get them to the elementary building, perfect. Those options all work. And for most of the families, that's worked. Not every single one of them.
To your point, Brandy, with somebody on the Evelyn side, somebody on the Virginia side, but we're one school district. That's what I'm looking at. If we're Rockridge School District, then you have, you said if a kid can get to a bus or whatever, but to have these boundaries, if they have a parent over in Evelyn and then one in Virginia, but they're Rockridge School District, we should be able to get them to their perspective spot. We bring kids to Tower, we do things outside of our school district. We should be able to get a ride to home for these kids in our district, I feel, some way or another.
The only thing is like the transportation was one of the reasons why we first started having any of these discussions in the first place about collaboration and consolidation, was to try and eliminate buses. I mean, I live in Gilbert and I see buses from different towns coming by my house all the time. And it was to attempt to try and keep buses from going all different directions and to save money on some of that. And that, to me, that's the reason for the boundaries, is to try and help with those transportation issues. It's just, like I said, it's just the families that do have split families. I feel like, they shouldn't be penalized because that's their situation. That's their situation.
And you're talking probably just a fraction of a percent.
Can North Star Transportation fill in just that fraction of a percent? Do they have that ability to pick up a child here or there, or a student here or there?
We have looked at that, and in some cases, Director Yuan, we have looked at that as a solution, but it's not a good solution because we sometimes, most of the time, don't have a van going in that direction. And you can't afford, unless you tell me you want to spend down your money you have in the reserves, you don't have the money to be sending North Star Transportation to all of the parents who would like to go across. That, as I'm sitting here right now, I'm aware of one or two parents who are not happy with how it's played out. You can say yes and tell us, but then you got to be prepared. I'm going to come right back and say, okay, where do you want to get this $100,000, $200,000 from to pay for this?
The other thing is when you draw the line for one or two, then three or four want it, and then pretty soon it
snowballs.
It snowballs, and then it becomes a money pit.
As long as we're giving that option of saying, if you can get them to this stop, bring them. I feel like that's kind of a compromise, and still keeping our buses from, running all over the place and costing more. I'm okay with that, but especially if it's only like one or two, but it just seems like, let's try and make sure that we're looking at all options and every way possible to you know.
They're just very vocal. I get it, I understand. We have talked to all of them. Several of them have talked to 3 or 4 of us in the admin building, looking for a different answer each time. We've held firm to what you have told us with the attendance boundary lines, and the biggest reason is we don't have the drivers. We don't, and we don't have the transportation.
So for those 2 incidents, the 2 people, let's say, do we have a bus where they can get picked up on one side to get to the other side? There is a spot where they're not going to be
Absolutely, but
in no man's
the
land.
problem for the last ones we have, it's from their house to the bus stop. They're telling us they don't have a way to get their child to the one they want. They can get to a school, but not the one they want.
The one that I'm aware of is one parent can't get the student because they start work so early. The other parent doesn't have that problem, and
some of it depends upon which parent they're with. When they're with one parent, it's not an issue. But when they're with the other parent, it's an issue.
Won't it get better next year because we'll be having at least part of it? Because now there's high school coming here. You know what I mean? Like with
No,
that's
not with the ones who are complaining. It's the elementaries. We're not getting complaints about the high school.
I know, but still you would
It's-
pick up, you would pick up,
Less bus running.
No,
you'd still pick up.
like a midway bus would be coming.
Right.
Yes,
That's what
they'd be coming all to one location.
I'm just saying it could work.
The buses are coming.
Theoretically,
Right.
yes, you could pick up a couple.
Yeah, that's all
But it's
I'm,
not going to help parents who want to go to North Star or to Parkview.
no, but it would help for Laurentian. So,
Yes.
For some of those, yes, but then we have to think about this. That means you have a bus that now is leaving, has to go to Laurentian that normally wouldn't, because I don't think we're going to let a kindergartner walk from the high school to Laurentian.
well, that's just a little jaunt.
It is.
You would empty that bus, and then that bus
Bring
driver
the
would just drive it
child
up
over there, right.
The 2 blocks. Yeah,
2
that's.
blocks and it's all safe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so something like that
Or have somebody escort the,
will happen.
some of these problems might go next year once our busing routes change, and I think we
Sure.
should leave it alone until we find out what other problems are going to come out of the woodwork next year.
but I think,
Possible.
I think if they're in the Rock Ridge district, they should be, that should be looked at and taken care of.
Okay,
Perfect.
so we'll move on.
Which of the A through E's, which is our official scenario? Which one did we pick last year? E?
You picked the one where it basically was north-south. It's at Midway
Midway's
went
in
to
north.
North
Virginia,
Star.
yeah.
So I don't know what scenario number that was, but
It's the one we're doing, and most Midway parents are very happy taking their kid to North Star. We do have some, however, who go to Laurentian, and that works if they can get their kid there or to the bus stop.
how many are going to Laurentian from the Midway?
As I'm sitting here, I'd have to look it up, Director Addy. I don't know.
All right.
A handful. Most of the kids from Midway are going to North Star.
56 are going to Laurentian?
That's the number that sticks in my head, 56.
Not from Midway.
No, it's not that.
There's might
Oh,
be,
not for Midway.
Yeah.
Total kids.
right.
And how many of those 56 supposedly are going to?
I'll look it up and let you know.
Okay, and then we'll figure out that maybe that attendance boundary might need to be changed, because when you think about it, picking all the kids up in Midway and then running them all the way to Virginia when you got a school right over here.
Wow, that's.
Well, right now they're going over there, so.
Right,
Off top.
right, yeah. Okay,
You stick to heating, Director Addy, okay?
all right, any more discussion on school attendance boundaries? Okay, we're moving on to 5.8, Superintendent. 5.81, Evelyn and Gilbert High School Trail Studies Open House Tuesday, May 9th, 5 to 7 p.m. in the athletic commons at the Rockridge School.
Just when you thought you weren't going to have any more open houses, here comes another one. So we have another open house coming up. We've sent this info to all of our parents and staff. St. Louis County has mailed postcards to everyone who lives in the area. This is just for all the folks watching at home and for the board. This is not our open house. This is St. Louis County MnDOT's open house about could there be some trails put in when they're redoing Highway 53. They want to look at this. They want to get input from the public. So if you're a member of the public, this is, and you want trails, this is an important open house to attend. And they'll show the public some options, different ways to how to get from the Evelyn over to the new school. How do you get from Midway if you're a walker or a biker? Those are the kind of trails we're looking. In addition to the weekend or the evening person or day person just wants to go on a walk with their puppy.
Yeah.
And so just to let the board know, it's coming up tomorrow.
And they said in that notice that they don't have any funding yet. This is just preliminary talk. These are wish lists, I think, right?
It is, but this is the process they have to go through to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Next one I just want to do is on a turf field updates very quickly. I know that you're hearing from people about why weren't the turf fields all ready to go? How come they weren't ready? How come they weren't done? And why was this happening comparing us to other fields? I've heard Mesabi East, comparisons with us in Mesabi East. Why were they playing more games than we were right away? So here's what happened. You are the only school in the state of Minnesota who is 3 high schools that you're trying to do this, and you have a high school that is across the parking lot. We have a lot of activity in that going on right now. So the custodians, we also have custodians who are piling up ginormous overtime right now because we're staffed for 2 high schools, but there's really 3 high schools that are open. So when snow hits, and we had a lot of snow in April, we actually got those fields cleared before some other districts around us. But then snow hit, and what's the first priority? And Mike and I would talk about this every day. First priority, get the snow off of Laurentian, get the snow off of North Star, get it off of the buildings where the kids are at. So that meant the custodians were pulled from pulling snow off of the fields, and that did slow us down. I know the baseball players, softball players did a great job helping out, and that was happening everywhere, but they did a great job helping out. We really appreciate it. I understand, though, some frustration. We were doing the best we could with the folks we had, but I just want the board to know that I've authorized a lot of overtime for our custodians to keep these buildings clear of snow and to keep the high school open, because we've had a series of events over there going. So, but I understand why some people were, why couldn't we do this? So I just want to let the board know that that was going on.
I think a lot of people just see opportunities for us to be renting those fields out as well, to different teams for different tournaments, to the college, things like that. And they want to see us utilizing that opportunity. And, it was brought up about, are we going to have like a designated staff person to be taking care of like the football field and, all those turf fields going forward, because it seems to be a lot of work.
And currently that, you'll eventually will see it here, because we have a process we have to go through via the ASME contract for custodians to bid on positions, because Virginia High School is a new opening. And so there's a process. So Mike and I have talked a lot about this also, is that we're going to shift another custodian into field maintenance, which would include the turf fields and snow removal. And so we'll go through that process with the custodians, But there will actually be another person from the custodial staff specifically on grounds, which includes the turf fields, snow removal, and mowing and things like that.
But that leaves a hole now for the work they're already doing. And
Right.
is that a lot of work for our maintenance people?
Right now, I freely admit that it is, which is why there's a lot of overtime going on. So I get the part about having fields ready. In order for us to get those fields ready, you did not have the custodians to get the work done. They're wearing out. They're tired. They don't want to do overtime anymore. We've got some people saying, no, I don't care what you give me for overtime. I don't want it. And so that's an issue. And I get it, but our first priority has been keeping snow from the Laurentian, North Star, and the two high schools where most of the kids are.
Yeah.
And I get that's.
Yeah.
I get it.
And once we get into one building, I think it'll improve
Yeah.
dramatically.
Us had a long,
Absolutely.
Not having snow in the middle of
Right.
April, a third week of April.
That'll never happen again either.
Yeah.
right, right.
My 2 cents on the topic is, and I spent a lot of time down there, I'm a baseball dad, and I talked to the boosters, and they're very thankful for the fields they have, and they're just very appreciative, and they love them. It's been great. We just beat previously winless, undefeated Hermantown 3-2. That's why I was late. Great win. But I think what they wanted to do is they wanted us to be more ready for next year, have our policies in place, have our procedures, our rental, have the, and I think they'd understand that it was a new field and everything's new down there and new everything. They want to be ready, more prepared next year. We practiced a lot in the gym. There were days that, I was down there a lot. I mean, 10 days in a row, I never saw a snowblower on the field. So, I mean, I was there a lot.
Yep.
And they just wanted to be,
We should have sent you to the other high schools, then you would have seen the snow blowers in
there was
operation.
days, I'm not going to argue with that on camera, but, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that on camera, but I know what I saw.
I do think we deserve a grace period, though.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they do too. They think that.
Yeah, and I do want a shout out to the custodians and to thank them and how much it's appreciated, and their hard work and extra time doesn't go unnoticed. And just thank you.
For sure.
Okay. Moving along.
Moving along, 22nd, Thursday, this is the place to be. High school open house, it'll be a lot of fun. We're expecting anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people. There'll be food, singing, drums. It'll be a lot of fun. And of course, yes, there'll be some short speeches by some people. Tours, people will be able to go anywhere they want. We'll open the football field up. If people want to walk on the turf football field, there'll be games going on, softball, baseball, go down there, watch them all. It'll be a lot of fun, but we'll start at 5 o'clock in the gym, in the new gym. So, great place to be this Thursday, 5 o'clock.
I'm just going to say I'm very sad that I will not be able to attend because I'll be working my second job. So I'm hoping to get there towards the tail end so I can be there for some of it, but I won't be able to be there.
You will be missed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the last thing for the board is that, speaking of public meetings, we have another one coming up. We officially have to close Virginia High School. We've been running ads in the legal publication, which is the Mesabi Tribune. That's the one you selected. We have to run those for so many weeks. We have been running them. So we have another one coming up to officially close Virginia High School. That will be here. We'll go a brief presentation. It'll probably be me giving it. But the primary purpose of that will be for any members of the public to come here and they can say anything they would like. You will not make a decision that night. You will just simply listen to the members, to the public. It's not necessarily a dialogue back and forth. You simply listen to members of the public, say anything they want, and then at a different board meeting, you will tell us to close Virginia High School or not to close Virginia High School. And so just want you to know that the public meeting is coming up for Virginia High School. We are not doing one on Evelyn Gilbert High School, if you're wondering, and that's because we are still going to have kids in it next year. Because North Star is right there, they're using the gyms, they'll be using some of the facilities, the heating plant is there. So Evelyn Gilbert High School will still be used by a few people next year. That one will come next spring. That's all I have for the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving along to administrative item 6.1, consider approval of quotes for K-6 5 years, 7 and 8, and math, high school math 6 years math curriculum. There should be a couple quotes in here. I don't know what. Anybody get a chance to look at it?
And if there are questions from the board, we do have Alicia here who's been patiently waiting to answer any questions that any board members may have about this. We have budgeted for it. We've talked extensively with the principals, and I've asked them, can this wait? Can this wait? Can we hold off? And they have said no, because of we're trying to get all the buildings on the same curriculum, get the teachers all on the same. And so that's what they're telling me, but we need to officially bring it here for your consideration. Alicia, thank you for being here.
Yes, so good evening. Yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, let me know. I think the total for K-12 is about $281,000. And if you look at it for the high school kids, that's about, it's a 6-year plan, so that's about $16 per kid per year. So if you think about it, it's not that bad. And then for the elementary, it is a little bit more. I think it's about $29 per kid, just because elementary, you just have more stuff. You've got more manipulatives and more just things that teachers use for teaching. So, any other questions you guys have about this?
Does this eliminate any courses, this math, or?
No, this is our general ed math. Basically, right now, we're just all over the place. Like Noelle said, we have, Elbeth Gilbert's teaching one thing, Virginia's teaching another. The high school especially it affects, because if we have a Algebra 1 teacher teaching out of this book, and the Virginia Algebra 1 teacher over here teaching this book, and kids have to switch classes, they're not getting the same content at the same time. The courses are just different, so I think for the high school, for sure, it's something that we need to do.
So do we have any background on this math, knowing that, is it doing well in other schools?
Yes.
What do we know?
So for the K-6, actually, we went with math expressions. It's been around for many years. I'm actually on a curriculum committee with the Northeast area principals and other curriculum directors in the area. I know Masabi East uses it. If you talk to Amy Mackey, hopefully she's okay with me saying this. She really feels like her teachers made a lot of work with what they really like, and we saw just gains in their math. But I think that's everywhere. So I think it's a great program. We did a pilot for it. So we had 9 of our elementary teachers pilot it. They did it for about 8-9 weeks. And then we also piloted another program for teachers. And so they had a chance to kind of really pilot 2 that we picked. So first we had a whole process, and we looked at like 5 or 6 different programs. Then we picked 2 that they really liked and that met the criteria that they were looking for, which is rigorous, making sure they covered the Minnesota State standards, making sure there was a lot of student discourse and collaboration in the curriculum, of course, higher level thinking. So teachers had a criteria that we looked at, and then they came up with these 2. After the pilot, they had to switch to a different program. It was super hard for the kids, for the teachers. A lot of the feedback was the kids wanted to go back to this one that we want to pick, which is math expressions. They just really liked math. I did a survey from the teachers who did the pilot. Some of the things were students made large games, students loved math. They were like, give me more. And, that's a good thing when kids want more math problems. It was just centered to all learning styles and abilities, higher level questions. Students are confident in their math abilities. The one thing they really liked is the spiral of the curriculum, so it wasn't like you teach something and then it goes away. It was constantly talked about throughout the entire year, throughout the units, so kids were like not just learning one thing today, it was like they got it all. Especially in the kindergarten, like the kindergarten teachers there who have been there for many years, that
They have never seen a math curriculum this great for kindergartners, teaching them number sense. And just the data, I had a teacher email me after they took their STAR test when she was teaching this, and she was just like blown away by the results that she got. We had parents email. A parent is like, I hope the next year teacher's using this curriculum because my daughter, is doing so well. She loves math and she really gets it. There's a lot of positive feedback from it. And I'm excited to see what it can do for our students as well.
Is there, I noticed in here, there's like no calculus or trigonometry, that not being, where does those classes go?
So some of those classes, I think the college and the schools and things that we have to do from the college, they have the book that we have to teach out of. I know there's a pre-calculus book that we have and we need to order a few more, but they're like smaller items. So this is just the main, Algebra 1 right now, algebra or geometry and algebra 2.
And if we eliminate any classes, Noel, that comes to the school board to have discussion about as well, right?
Okay.
So in those, we haven't had any of those discussions.
There's nothing really unusual in the math curriculum that you've got, but this was a topic of the District Curriculum Advisory Committee that Alicia runs. The math teachers have talked quite a bit about the math curriculum. So at this point, it's just if the board wants to say yes, or if you want to think about it, you certainly can. If you're going to think about it, we just don't think too long if you're going to say yes, because we need to order it and get it here so the teachers have it when the kids show up in the fall.
Yes, and we also need to think about the training, because if the longer we wait, they don't have dates that we want. And days are hard to come by, so we kind of have specific dates that we're hoping to get this training scheduled.
So what does the training look like? I mean,
For K6, it's a 6-hour training. So we have a teacher coming in, or I hope we do, the trainer that would come in and maybe forward with this has taught every single lesson in this curriculum. She actually creates slideshows, she creates extra supports and training for teachers. So I think she's our best case scenario, because if we're going to spend this much money, we might as well make sure teachers are trained right and can actually use it with fidelity. And one thing I would hate to do is buy a curriculum and then don't really give the teachers the training that they need, so then it's not going to go anywhere. So
this,
6 hours, and then the high school, it's a 3-hour training.
so the math curriculum that we're looking at here covers all the current classes we have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the quotes for the new math curriculum.
Support by,
That was Reardon, and I would support it by you, hon.
excuse me, Reardon, support by you, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, any discussion?
Alicia, what math programs does Virginia, or the former Virginia and the former Evelyn Gilbert systems used?
So right now, the K4 division uses My Math. It's by McGraw-Hill. And actually, the stuff we're using is discontinued. So we actually got it for one more year just because they had leftovers and they were able to work with us. And the Evelyn Gilbert uses Envision Math.
Envision?
Yep, and our 5th and 6th grade also use that. It's by Savvis. Our 5th, 6th, and then high school uses a variety. It's kind of all over the place.
And so they don't use Glencoe either, the high school?
There's a few, I think there's an old Glencoe book, but like I said, it's kind of sporadic. But yeah, it's,
Time to make things uniform, right?
yep.
And then, so the process and the review process with the Curriculum Advisory Committee, who made up that committee? How many times did they meet? Were there parents? Were there other support staff?
Or are you?
Well, for
the math committee?
for this curriculum review and implementation of something new.
Yeah, so for the math curriculum committees, I sent out a survey to all the teachers, and I think we posted it as well. I had a couple people from the public on it, and so we met last, I think we started in April and May, so we probably met like 6 times after school to really look at the different curriculums. And then once we picked them, then we had our pilot teachers, because we had 9 different elementary teachers who volunteered the time to join. And so then we went with that.
So is that the teachers that met that many times, or all of these community people?
Everybody, and then once we piloted, then the teachers were obviously the ones doing the curriculum.
So you had other support staff, you had teachers, you had parents and other interested community members?
Yes.
And did you say they met monthly?
No, we met, actually, it was like April and May of last year, prior to going into this school year. And then, so we probably met like 6 or 7 times. And then within the school year, I guess I could probably tell you, I have them on my calendar of how many times we met with the teachers as far as with like the different companies. They came in, we had to give them training. We met multiple times throughout the year.
And that was the teachers. I know that I sat in on one, and then you had one not too long ago that I missed.
Oh, the curriculum advisory committee?
Yes, yes. How do you solicit those people for that advisory committee?
So what I did is we sent it out to all parents. I think we posted it in the paper. We posted whoever wanted to join the committee and the staff, and then whoever signed up is on it.
So I was reading one of our policies today, a couple of them. And one of them is textbook and instructional material. And I didn't know this myself, but I guess there's a part in our policy that says we have a reconsideration of textbooks or other instructional material process that we can follow. Because it says we recognize there's difference of opinion in the community, and people may request an opportunity to review materials, submit a request for reconsideration, and there's supposed to be procedures and guidelines to seek that reconsideration. And then it goes, after the procedure, it goes to the school board for review. I don't know, I just wondering that we're not going too fast in this process. I know there are timelines now, but backing up from this point, going backwards, to have information and input and whatever of the procedure, and to be informed about that. That's what I have a concern about.
Well, anybody can join the committee and have their voice, so it was open to everybody.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that it was so much of a dig your heels in, roll up your sleeves, being a real working committee, because did you do scope and the whole committee? That means with the parents and with even students are supposed to be on this committee, other staff, and do scope and sequence and compare and contrast, and what makes this one.
Yeah, we did that.
Well,
we have sheets where the teachers filled it out.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that, or at least talk to or get the names of some of the community people and parents and students that were involved in this process. I just think I had a concern for, before we were Rock Ridge too, about having a real statutory working, roll up your sleeves curriculum advisory committee. Plus, there's another committee, the staff development committee, which is supposed to have, parents and students and community members. And it even goes down far as to say you're supposed to have a special ed representative and maybe some minority representation and things. And I would like to see that we have more, what would you say, all-inclusive committees going forward on curriculum.
I know the two that I attended, the one in August and then I attended the one in October. If that's different, because we didn't really interact, we just sat at the table and everything was all figured out. So if there's different ones, can you let me know? Because I would love to go to the one I can.
Advisory, but like basically, so we have the advisory committee, but then we break off, and if we're doing like a math curriculum, then we ask people to join the math curriculum committee, because the people on the curriculum advisory could join that as well. So it was kind of like a different group. So we have the curriculum advisory committee, but then you open it up to who's going to do the math committee. And then if next year we're hoping to look at science, so then you would send it out again, who wants to be on the science committee. I don't know if that's the right way, if you guys want it done a different way, but that's how I did this one. And so the curriculum advisory committee, I know we're looking into like setting up 4 dates next year, just to have those rolled out. So if you guys have more input on how you want those to go, let me know. I mean, it was new to me this year to create that and kind of figure out what that looks like after I kind of looked over the rules of it with the state and the guidelines that they had. But yeah, if you guys have any other suggestions or how we want to do that, let me know.
Yeah, I think we need to do a little better job of involving our community, and not just parents, because, the community, it's a whole bunch of people, because we're supposed to ensure active community participation in all phases of planning and improving instruction and curriculum. And I hope we'll put a stronger effort, and then I hope we'll get some stronger interest.
Well, hold on though, Director Sorkin. I don't want the board members to walk away from this thinking that Alicia or we didn't do due diligence here.
Don't think
We
that.
asked, we ran these in the paper. Anybody could have joined. She ran meeting after meeting with the teachers. They're the ones you hire to actually do the instruction. We have had 0 complaints from the math curriculum. And even if we did, we just give them a different curriculum. That's not an issue at all. But I just need to say this. Alicia did a thorough job. If we don't get volunteers from the community, again, I'm saying this again, there's no controversy here with the math curriculum. Why are we trying to make a controversy?
And we can't force people to participate. We've advertised, we've done everything that we can. And you've had, it sounds like you did the scope and sequence stuff. I appreciate the job you did. Thank you.
And I mean, just to be honest with that, like the last curriculum committee, we posted it, we had it on Facebook, it was in the newspaper, not a single person came. There was one teacher that came that wasn't on the committee. Other than that, it was the committee members. And even a lot of them couldn't make it because it is hard. It's hard to get people to do a lot of this after school committee work. Yeah. People have lives, people have a lot going on. I mean, to be honest, I found it very hard. I had 2 community members. One came every now and then, and one was there pretty often. She actually just came to the classroom to observe a kindergarten teacher teaching this math curriculum. She had nothing but good things to say about it. She was a former kindergarten teacher. She's from the community.
Thank you.
So we got motion by Director Reardon, support by Director Yuhan on 6.1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion passes 6-1. 6.2, consider donation request for a man-door assembly and 1 counter with a sink to be used at the Clinton Fire Department for renovation and remodeling.
Is this any door and any sink we have that surplus or anything specific?
They're from what's going to be torn down.
Right.
I make a motion to approve that request.
Motion by Director Yuhan, support by Director Addy. Any discussion?
Well, we had talked before about having everything go up on auction. I know this is a different situation.
Yeah.
But just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's equity. Fair chance at it.
But Bill, was it a fair chance? Because in this letter, it says, we have been made aware of stuff, well, by whom? And maybe there are other good organizations. It's a good organization, Clinton Volunteer Fire Department. But again, you know where I come from. I always say equal opportunity. If people don't know about it and other people have inside information, or they know, or they work there, or someone's told them and they put their hand out first, should they actually, get it? I'm just looking for a consistent procedure here in fairness. And so we have this one. We did something different last meeting, and we said, no, it's got to be more fair and more open to everybody. Now we've got 6.3, looking for a bunch of things for the Virginia Historical Society. And here we are, back to the same situation. How are we going to handle this? Some of these things.
This is the fire department's a nonprofit, so there's nothing, they're profiting nothing from this.
And they're asking for a man door and a sink.
A man door and a sink, yeah.
Well, just like that tank, there could have been somebody else that. I'm just saying, I'm just reiterating and chewing my cabbage over and over about the process, the fairness, just because somebody told them. I mean, I think we need a fairness process. That's all I'm saying. Not to say that they aren't worthy of it, but come in and take a lot more things.
But in my brother's defense, he took only things that were old. He didn't take a man door. I mean,
No, don't get it. I'm not accusative. I'm saying I'm using that as a process that we went through. And I agreed with it, and I voted for it, and I supported it. But we're not doing the same type of consistent process in fairness, so.
one thing for the board to know is the demo company, when they made the bid, if it's bolted down, it is part of the bid, they get it. And so they can do whatever they want. However, there's some things that it's okay if we remove. This is an example of one, they're fine if we take a sink. If we start taking everything out, well, first of all, you don't have the people to do this. You don't have the space to do this, but it's the demo company's bid. And when last year we pulled some stuff out, a gentleman won the bid. The demo company was okay with that. We talked to them and they said, it's okay, go ahead and take that wood out. And that was what happened in that particular situation. But generally, if it's a nonprofit, volunteer group, we're bringing these to you. And this falls under that category. It's up to you what you want to do.
And are there other nonprofit things that might use some of our to-be demoed stuff too?
I would hope.
Are you saying this isn't our property though? Really though? I mean,
So then the demo people.
that's what I'm asking.
Yes, but this is such a.
Technically, it's not our-
Technically,
right.
but this is
So we're
such a
just
small
getting-
item, the demo.
So it's kind of like a
companies,
case
they're
by
okay
case
with that.
scenario.
Case by case, because
Yeah.
it's so small.
My thoughts on this, we've talked about this so much that anybody and everybody from Duluth North and even farther out for the last 4 years know that we're going to demo buildings, and if they wanted something, they could come to us. And as Paulie brings it up every meeting that we do this.
I do.
And people have heard that, but yet we don't have people busting down our doors, so.
And that's an opinion that everybody knows.
Okay, so we got a motion by Johan, support by Addie to move forward with 6.2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. 6.3, consider approval of request from the Virginia Historical Society for the items located in the Virginia High School. See the list that was presented to you in your board packet.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Director
I'll second.
support by Director Culver-Dahl. Any discussion?
Same scenario. And some of these things, okay, you've got things that aren't necessarily historic just for Virginia only, like prints and artwork and pictures and things like that. And what about the things from the Goodman Auditorium? Ceiling lights and big balcony hallway stuff and scones. I mean, that's kind of things that are going to get taken off the wall, not ripped off the wall, but somebody's going to take them carefully. But even just take the Goodman Auditorium stuff. Shouldn't that stuff at least be first offered to the Sagan family? Because their grandparents built that darn auditorium. And again, it's apparent that the Historic Society, they even know locked in uniform and trophy storage room. So they were given reign and there's an Iron Range Historic Society. There's a Minnesota Historic Society. And again, somebody got some, whatever.
We did this.
Privileged, whatever.
Didn't we already do this for the Evelyn Historical Society last year?
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily agree with that either because
Trophies, we did. And I think Gilbert got some.
Gilbert got some too.
Gilbert got some too.
They sure
Yeah, do
did.
we know other societies don't want this stuff?
and we don't.
Well, we don't, but
Yeah.
then again, we've been,
It's a natural spot. Virginia is nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Virginia
what-
Historical Society.
Well, I think
like
that
we
should be
said, the
first,
trophy's going to
really.
end up down in Minneapolis or something.
Yeah, I think Virginia should have first.
In
yeah,
a
that makes
generation, they're going to see this trophy, oh, what's this? Oh, cleaning out grandpa's house. It's going to end up in the dumpster because it has no significance to them. I think keeping this stuff locally has more significance than,
I do too.
I agree
No.
with that.
Another question is, do they even have room in their little building that they have?
I have no
for
idea.
These big things.
I have no idea I don't even know where they're located.
There's one other process that I became aware of not too long ago. There's, I think, the Chamber of Commerce downtown Virginia. I was in there last year, the year before, for some reason, talking, and I've noticed, some nice old light sconces on the wall. And I was asking the person that was there, and she said, oh, yeah, they're beautiful, but we don't own them. They're in some kind of a loan system. I don't know who owns them, probably the city of Virginia. And you can take them and display them, but you give them back at a certain point in time. Maybe you get to use them and then they can rotate, but they stay with a public entity you know, and maybe that's,
So like they're on loan,
yeah, they're like
basically?
on loan, they're
Yeah.
artwork, they're artifacts, they're, what's the other word? Artifacts on loan, but nobody ever gets to own them, you know. That's another idea for somebody.
Okay, so we got motion by Director Reardon, support by Culver Dahl. All those in favor?
Again, maybe I'll make an amendment. I brought up about the Goodman Auditorium stuff. Is that automatically going to go to this group and not even
On the list.
mention it to the?
I'm sure there's a lot more than what's on the list.
This is not what we talked about earlier, the bronze.
No.
things. That's
No.
not part of it.
I don't see it.
I just saw artwork pieces from the Goodman Auditorium.
And what about that? Might the family, the direct family want some of
They
that?
inquired about the pictures, Paul.
The Sagans did?
Yes, I've talked to them.
Okay, so there are some pictures on this list. Are any of those?
No, those are not, because I know the Sagan family has already inquired about their family pictures.
Okay, so that doesn't, okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Okay, so we got motion by Director Reardon, support by Culver Dahl to approve 6.3. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. 6.4, consider request from the City of Gilbert for the school district to gift to the City of Gilbert a trophy case to match the case previously received from the school.
So my question on, well, go ahead, make the motion.
Support.
Support by Director Yuhan, okay.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Patty.
I did.
Okay,
So
thank you.
my only question about this is it sounds like we gave them a trophy case previously. And so now they're asking just for the other matching one.
Correct.
Okay,
That's how I see it.
all right, that's all I need to know.
Any discussion? Any more discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Meeting announcements. The Rockridge grand opening is on Thursday, May 11th, B Square. How's that sound, Tim? The next regular meeting is May 22nd at 6 PM in the Rockridge Administration Building. Item 8, here, we're going to move into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statutes, Section 13D05 subdivision, to engage in discussions with the school board's legal counsel relating to litigation in the case of Sorkin versus Rockridge School District, court file 23 Charlie Victor 1174. The Board of Directors seeks legal advice on responding to the lawsuit and the alleged claims against the district. The district attorney analysis of the same and the district's opinions for responding to such claims.
Options.
I mean.
District's options.
District's options for responding to such claims.
I just have one question. I just see after that, there's adjournment. It doesn't say anything about coming out of closed meeting and having any more discussion or take any action. All I'm saying.
Well, we got to go back into our regular meeting and.
I know, but
And close it.
I'm just saying, I'm leaving for the closed session, but if there's going to be any more discussion or any action like at some meetings, I'd like to be notified that the meeting's over to come back in.
Well, it's not on the agenda.
Okay, so it's just going to be adjournment for sure, after the closed meeting?
I would say, because of the way the agenda is written, I would say yes.
Okay. All right.
We don't know what if we have to take action though?
That's why I asked, if there's any action to
then
be
we're-
taken.
You know what I mean? I'm just,
If we,
don't know that.
if we have to take it, we can contact.
If you take action at this meeting,
Yeah,
if it's an open, it'll be open. Okay, I'll be on the other side of the door.
Okay.
Can we adjourn for 5 minutes too?
Yes, we'll take a short little recess, but I need a
Or,
motion.
I'm sorry,
I make a motion to
Go
go into recess.
Take a break.
Yeah.
please.
To go into recess.
And board members, we're going back to a different room, so public, you can stay here if you wish. The board will come back.
And we'll just
There's a room back here we're going to
leave
take
all
you
our
to.
stuff,
You can
right?
leave all your stuff if
Okay.
you'd like.
Okay. We'll do a couple minute recess.
Are we?
We're ready.
Alrighty, well, we'll open up this, we come out of closed session, the meeting is now open, and I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a
We have
motion.
to reopen the meeting and then we have to close it.
I think
You did that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay,
You have
That's
to
from-
reopen it with a motion.
Oh, okay. I move to open the meeting, or do you have to ask for that?
Second.
Okay.
okay, open,
At
okay,
9:48,
right? And now I will ask the board to
adjourn.
adjourn our regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And
Motion carries.
by that